Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. I'm Mr. Giant and I'm back with some more vibes for you, you know what I mean? And let me thank you all for the comments and stuff. Keep commenting and keep dropping those suggestions in the comment section, and I will definitely take a look at it because I want to keep learning, you know what I mean? And if you're watching it and you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, join the family and things so we could all watch this together and enjoy each other's company in the comment section. Anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and YouTube and sim. I've always wondered, England has given up so many territories over the years, and certain territories have gotten independence, but still are linked, like my country, still are linked to England, and she's a sort of head of state of islands like mine. I always wondered what powers does she really have? So I'm going to watch this here, and this one is called "What Powers Does the Queen of England Actually Have?" Now, this may be centered strictly on the powers that she have in England, but uh, I think that would filter out into the former colonies. Let's check this out.
Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching It Today. I found our YouTube channel, and in the video today we're looking at what powers the Queen of England actually has. And just before we get started, I do want to say that this video is brought to you by TunnelBear. TunnelBear is a simple privacy app that makes it easy to enjoy a more open internet. It's available for iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. Start your free trial today at tunnelbear.com/brainfood. So a short while ago, we put out a video about the fact that Queen Elizabeth II neither needs a passport nor a driving licence, thanks to a quirk of British law. But what other powers does the Queen of many titles have, and what could she theoretically do if she decided to flex the full might of the authority that she wields? As it turns out, thanks to the royal prerogative, a terrifying amount, if she really felt like it, or at least that's assuming Parliament went by the letter of the law, and that the people didn't decide to stage a small revolt. In reality, the Queen rarely exerts even a fraction of the power that she theoretically wields, as it's kept in check by the only person in the UK who can tell her what to do, and that's herself. This is very much a calculated move on her part in order to stay in the good graces of her subjects. She also voluntarily pays her taxes, even though she's not technically obligated to, and that helps with people's opinion of her. Not only does she avoid openly flexing her political might, she also tends to keep her...
Wait a minute. A rich person that pays taxes because she sort of worries about what the people might think of her if she don't. Wow. Wow. We see rich people trying to escape taxes all the time up in here. Certain corporations don't even pay taxes. Oh, they don't care what the people think. Buy my stuff. I ain't gonna pay no taxes. I don't have to help build the infrastructure that I use to get my goods to you. I don't care what you think. I ain't paying no taxes. No, I'm not saying it's a moral thing she's doing, because according to the explanation here, she's doing it so that the people wouldn't think less of her. But that's a good thing. If you're in power, you have to worry about what the people think of you. However, she don't have to divide people to get them to vote for her. So she can't live a life where she doesn't care what a section of the population think, because she's there. You know what I mean? Nobody votes her in. She's just there. Whereas tricksters, they use people against each other in order for them to get the most votes, and all that crazy stuff. But let's keep going here. That's pretty interesting that's the case.
Openly flexing her political might, she also tends to keep her opinions outside of the public sphere. As historian Frank Prohaska notes, the real secret of royal influence is saying nothing. And anything the Queen does say publicly is pretty anodyne. The minute a monarch or many of the royals say anything remotely political or opinionated, they alienate people and they lose some power. This silence played a large part in how the British monarchy survived post-World War I, when other European royal families didn't. In fact, for nearly 2 decades now, the monarchy has regularly had polls run and focus groups put together to keep track of how the general public feels about them and their various actions. They also have on payroll individuals whose job it is to ensure the Queen stays in the public eye and in a way that is most likely to endear her to her subjects. Similar to politicians who rely on the voting public with each public change she presents, right?
So we really don't know what she's thinking, because everything is public relations. I don't know. That kind of you get the wrong king or queen in there, and he's not saying anything on the outside, just saying what people want to hear, but plotting to just take complete control. It's kind of a, you know what I mean, dodgy, to say the least. But you know, it apparently works. You know what I mean? Because I don't see Queen Elizabeth planning no political revolt in anytime soon, or any other monarchy coming up anyway.
Rely on the voting public with each public change she presents, right down to the carrying of a cell phone or not, carefully calculated in terms of the impact it might have. While this may seem only self-serving, the Queen has a very lengthy track record as an admirable public servant, and is also acutely aware that she is a prominent public face representing her subjects, so is keen on avoiding being viewed in a bad light, lest she in turn paints them in a bad light by her actions. As she noted at the tender age of 21 in a speech to the Commonwealth she gave on her birthday, "I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family, to which we all belong." Surprisingly, for many years the full extent of exactly what powers the Queen handed off to the government, but technically retained, weren't publicly known. That is, until 2003, when the government released a partial list of the things it can do on the Queen's behalf. For the most part, the list confirms that the government could do things to save the Queen time, such as issue or revoke passports, which simply wouldn't be a feasible thing to be the sole prerogative of the Crown in a modern society. However, some were actually slightly worried by some of the things she could do, like declare war, which under rules of royal prerogative can be done without consulting Parliament. On top of that, the Queen is totally immune from prosecution and is considered above the law in the UK. And further, as a head of state, she also enjoys diplomatic immunity in any foreign country she happens to visit. As such, she could commit any crime conceivable anywhere on earth, at least as the law currently stands, and suffer no legal consequences for doing so. However, as with everything else, she's generally exceptionally careful to ensure that she doesn't break any laws. Of course, what she does in private is completely her own affair, despite her prominent political position.
I think that's a good idea.
Freedom of information requests.
Private.
So, moving on, because technically speaking, the people of Britain are not citizens but subjects of the monarch, she could have anyone she wanted arrested and presumably seize their property or land for the Crown. Speaking of which, the Queen owns all of the seabeds around the UK and can commandeer any ship found in British waters for service to the realm. Oddly enough, she also has first dibs on any whales that wash up on shore. The Queen could also administer any manner of punishment to an individual who offended or otherwise displeased her, as the Crown has prerogative power to keep the peace within the realm. And since she's immune from prosecution, nobody could really do anything if this punishment wasn't entirely within the scope of the law. If the government tried to stop her, the Queen could decimate the British political landscape by dissolving Parliament and appointing anyone she felt like as Prime Minister. This is because it's the Queen's duty to appoint the Prime Minister, and she could, in theory, appoint anyone she wanted to the position, regardless of the way the British public voted in an election. On top of that, in the event the Queen didn't like the outcome of an election, for instance...
How come nobody ever said, "Oh, Your Majesty, get rid of this dude, he's not doing any good for the country"? I think it's because maybe they're concerned about giving her too much, letting her have too much power, or letting the monarchy in general have too much power. But you know, it seems like a lot of people was dissatisfied with Margaret Thatcher, but I don't recall anybody, or correct me if I'm wrong, down in the bottom saying, "Oh, Your Majesty, please help us get this woman out of power." One day somebody gonna use that, you watch. You know, but I think there's a healthy fear of having a monarchy coming back into power. The one side of history we taking heed of, I guess. But anyway, let's keep going here.
Of that, in the event the Queen didn't like the outcome of an election, for instance, if she didn't like the replacement Parliament members that were voted in, she could just call for another one using royal prerogative until she got the Parliament she wanted. Not that she'd need to, because if she really wanted, she'd just bring in the army to keep everyone in line. But how does that work? How does she control the army? Well, that's because the Queen is also the Commander-in-Chief of the entire British military, with every officer, soldier, sailor and pilot swearing allegiance to the Crown and nobody else. They're not called Her Majesty's Armed Forces for nothing. Being considered the ultimate authority on all British military matters, the Queen could authorise a nuclear strike on France or make North Korea an ally, as she has the power to declare both war and peace with foreign nations.
She got a lot of power.
Well, technically the Queen can't create new laws, she can only sign them into law after they've been decided upon by Parliament. In fact, her royal assent is required to make the law official after being passed by Parliament in the first place. She could appoint ministers who'd make any laws she wanted a reality and then just sign them into law that way. Beyond royal assent, there's also the Queen's consent, which requires she give her consent before any law that affects the interests of the monarchy can even be discussed at all in Parliament. She actually has used this power before, such as in 1999 when she refused to allow the discussion of a bill that would have given Parliament power to authorise military strikes in Iraq instead of needing her authorisation. So, well, that's the political side, but it doesn't stop here. The Queen technically has a sort of power not only over her subjects' physical beings, but also their souls. Well, how? Well, that's because she's also the head of the Church of England, including having the power to appoint archbishops and power over many other such matters concerning the Church. As for most of these powers that technically allow her to rule with an iron fist, as previously mentioned, the Queen is hesitant to ever use them in such a way that would displease her subjects, and certainly isn't about to disregard their representatives in Parliament. However, these powers still exist for a variety of reasons, including potentially being needed in times of extreme crisis. That said, just because she isn't in the practice of exercising her powers against the will of the people, it doesn't mean she isn't occasionally an active political powerhouse in private. Extremely well-respected and known worldwide with the ability to bend the ear of most heads of state, the influence the Queen wields is difficult to quantify, but, as noted in an article discussing why the BBC named the Queen the most powerful woman in the world in their list of 100 most powerful women, Her Majesty's power is more about influence. A discreet nod of the head, a polite word in the ear of a Prime Minister at their weekly meeting, or a strategic patronage of a cause being overlooked by the government is how she can indirectly affect our world without us even knowing. Well, to conclude, the Queen has many powers she could theoretically legally use to her own ends unless her subjects and Parliament simply decided to stage a revolution. However, she generally avoids doing anything overt that might upset her subjects and otherwise simply works in the background, more or less in an advisory role when she feels there is a need. So I really hope you enjoyed that video. Now, if you are interested in protecting your privacy online, well, then you really should have a VPN. Now, VPNs are something you might have heard.
Wow, she got a lot of power. That's the kind of power the next person is going to have. That's going to be the monarchy on there. Somebody could stage a coup. Or who was it? Was it in the? And I was reading about the Russian monarchy, and a brother-in-law seized power because the royalty at the time was too young or too. I think it was too young to take power. Things could happen, man. And I'm sure at some point somebody's going to go, hey, Your Majesty, the Parliament is screwing up. Do something. She might be one of them last resort type things, you know, like, oh my God, who's going to help us? The Queen. Let's talk to the Queen or whoever is in power there at the time. Anyway, man, I'll leave a link in the description for this video as always, and all my videos that I react to, I'll leave the link in the description. Go check out the channel. You can check out this video without me stopping and talking all the time and thing. You understand? I hope you guys are having a really good day. Take care of each other, alright? Cool runnings. Whoop. Got a bug in here.